She heard the laughter before she fully understood the joke, and something in the sound told her it wasn't harmless. It carried a sting, the kind that hides behind a smile and pretends to be good manners. Ayana sat at that long polished table with her back straight, hands calm, heartbeat loud. She had walked into this home expecting a warm welcome, maybe a little awkwardness, maybe even a bit of curiosity, but she didn't expect this strange mix of amusement and judgment aimed straight at her before she'd even finished her first sip of water. 3 or 4 sentences in. Now I welcome you properly. I'm Simmons, and this is Chronicles of Black. Thank you for being here. If you're new, make sure you subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments, because stories like this one hit deep, and your voice matters. Ayana smiled politely, even though the corners of that room seemed to press in on her. She had prepared for this evening the way someone prepares for a job interview they genuinely want. She rehearsed answers, practiced breathing slowly, chose a dress that felt powerful but gentle, and brought a small wrapped gift for Ethan's mother. She wanted this to go well. She wanted his family to know she wasn't just the girl their son liked. She was someone building a future with purpose. But the moment she walked through the door, she sensed it. The pause, the look, the quick exchange of glances that lasted just a second too long. She tried to ignore it. She tried to give them grace. But now, sitting at the table, she heard what they really thought, hidden under a thin layer of polite dinner talk. You must be the diversity pick, his brother said, grinning like it was a compliment. His mother chuckled lightly. You speak so well. His father leaned forward, elbows on the table. Lord, that's ambitious. Every word felt like a soft slap, the kind where the person pretends they didn't hit you at all. Ayana kept her breathing steady, but she could feel the heat rising inside her chest. She had been here before. She knew this terrain. The assumptions, the disbelief, the constant testing of her intelligence, her presence, her worth. She'd seen it as a child, when teachers questioned her homework because it looked too advanced. She saw it at her first part-time job, when the manager made her repeat instructions just to see if she'd stumble. She felt it in college when classmates asked if she had a tutor because there was no way she could be leading the study group. Every time, she responded with excellence. Every time, she rose above it. But this moment was different. This one hurt in a way she didn't expect. Maybe because she trusted Ethan. Maybe because she hoped the people connected to him would see her as a human being before they saw her as a stereotype. Maybe because she had walked in with a gift and an open heart, only to be greeted like she'd shown up uninvited. Ethan noticed the tension but didn't speak fast enough. His mother kept smiling. His father kept probing. His brother kept smirking. They weren't curious. They weren't trying to know her. They were trying to place her somewhere beneath them. Ayana answered each question with grace. She refused to let them hear her voice shake. She told them about the university she attended, the internships she earned, the long nights she poured into her studies. But the more she revealed, the more their disbelief grew, as if every achievement she mentioned was a wild story she had made up. She felt her fingers tightened under the table. The gift she brought, a set of handmade candles, sat unopened near the breadbasket. They didn't even offer to take it from her. It was almost symbolic, a reminder that she came in with warmth, but the room stayed cold. A moment of silence fell over the table, but it wasn't peaceful. It was heavy, sharp, and Ayana felt herself sinking into it. She hadn't done anything wrong. Yet somehow she was the one shrinking, adjusting, trying to make them comfortable while they poked at her dignity like it was a joke they were allowed to make. She stared at her plate for a second, forcing her breathing to stay even. A question hit her harder than anything they said. It wasn't spoken out loud, but it echoed inside her chest. Did she make a mistake believing she'd be treated as an equal? She looked around that table at the smirks, the raised brows, the disbelief, and for the first time since she arrived, Ayana let the truth settle in. This wasn't a place built for her comfort. This wasn't a family ready to embrace her. She walked in offering respect, but the room kept handing her disrespect wrapped in politeness. She sat in silence, realizing this moment wasn't just about them. It was about every room she'd ever entered where people decided who she was before she even spoke. And as she sat there, feeling the quiet rage rise beneath her calm expression, she wondered if this night was the beginning of something she wasn't prepared to face. Ayana didn't grow her strength in quiet, comfortable places. It was shaped in a world that demanded she stand tall long before she knew what standing tall even meant. Her childhood was filled with the hum of lights, the echo of sirens bouncing off old brick buildings, and a mother whose tired eyes still held fire. Every night, her mother came home from a double shift with aching feet. Yet somehow she always found the strength to slide Ayana's books across the dinner table and say, "Show me what you learned today." Those small moments were lessons dressed as love. Her mother never yelled, never pushed with harshness. She guided, she believed, and that belief wrapped itself around Iona like a shield. Her father added to that shield in his own way. He wasn't a man of many words, but the ones he gave her mattered. Knowledge is armor, he told her. Wear it like you're born to win. She held on to those words through every season of her life. School wasn't a place that welcomed her brilliance at first. They put her in the slow group, not because she struggled, but because her confidence made some teachers uncomfortable. She remembered sitting there, pencil in hand, finishing every assignment before half the class even understood the directions. It took one teacher, just one, to look closer instead of looking through her. When the woman realized Iona wasn't slow, she was gifted. Her face shifted with guilt. That was the first time an adult apologized to her. Iona didn't gloat. She simply nodded, carrying the moment like a quiet promise. She would rise, even if no one expected her to. Her grandmother planted the deepest seed. A woman with silver hair, soft hands, and a voice that held generations inside it. One afternoon, as they sat on the porch listening to the city hum, her grandmother leaned over and said, "They love our rhythm but fear our mind. Let your mind lead, baby." Those words stayed with Iona like a heartbeat. She heard them during exams when her hands trembled. She heard them during internships where she was the only black woman in the room. She heard them when classmates looked her up and down before whispering about affirmative action. She heard them when professors praised the mediocre work of others while gliding right past her brilliance. But through it all, Iona moved like someone carrying more than her own ambition. She carried her mother's endurance, her father's wisdom, her grandmother's warning, and the dreams of women who never had the chance she now held. Every achievement was a thread woven from survival and sacrifice. By the time she reached law school, she knew exactly what she was up against. The whispers didn't surprise her. The looks didn't shake her. The doubt rolled off her like rain. She studied harder not because she was trying to prove anyone wrong, but because she wanted to prove herself right. She wanted to honor the people who believed in her before she ever set foot in a lecture hall. She remembered nights so long her eyes burned, remembered typing briefs until her knuckles cramped, remembered judges who complimented her poise, then addressed the male interns as if they were in charge. None of it stopped her. She climbed each challenge like she was born for it. Maybe she was. Her drive didn't come from wanting applause. It came from knowing that success for a black woman wasn't just a victory, it was a statement. It was a crack in a wall that stood for centuries. It was the voice of every ancestor whispering, "Keep going." So when Ethan's family questioned her worth, acted surprised at her intelligence, or tried to box her into a small corner she didn't belong in, it didn't break her. It reminded her of the path she walked, a path built on discipline, sweat, brilliance, and courage that didn't need anyone's approval to exist. But still, it stung, because this wasn't a classroom, or a job interview, or a courthouse. This was her boyfriend's family, a place she hoped would greet her with kindness, not condescension. So she excused herself from the table, stepping into the bathroom and closing the door gently. The quiet hit her all at once. She looked at herself in the mirror, seeing not just the woman she became, but the girl who fought to reach this moment. She let out a slow breath, letting the memories of her past anchor her in the present. She whispered softly, "You've outgrown rooms colder than this." Her shoulders relaxed, her heartbeat steadied. The fire inside her didn't fade, it settled, waiting. And in that small, still space, Iona reminded herself of a truth those people at the dinner table could never take away. She was born to rise, and she wasn't shrinking for anyone. Iona stepped back into the dining room with her chin lifted just a little higher than before. The room hadn't changed, but she had. The mirror gave her more than a reflection, it gave her clarity. And now, as she took her seat, the air felt charged, like the moment before a storm decides whether to break. The conversation picked up where it left off, sharp and polite in that way only practiced people can manage. Ethan tried to redirect things, but his voice didn't carry enough conviction to matter. He said things like, "Come on, Mom and Dad, relax," but they sounded like lines spoken out of obligation, not protection. His mother pushed her fork through her salad, eyes steady on I'm just asking questions," she said, as if curiosity came with smirks and raised eyebrows. His father folded his arms, leaning back like a judge on a bench. "I'm simply trying to understand her background." His brother didn't even pretend. He lounged in his chair, lips curved in that same smug grin he'd had since she walked through the door. He was waiting for her to slip, waiting for her voice to shake, waiting for her to confirm every assumption he already held. But Iona didn't shake. She didn't shrink. She sat there, still as stone, calm as a woman who has survived far worse rooms than this one. She listened as their questions grew sharper, disguised as conversation. Each one told her exactly who they were and exactly what they thought of her. And with each insult, something inside her stopped bending. When she finally spoke, her voice didn't tremble. It didn't rise. It carried a steady, grounded strength that made the room still. She answered them plainly, but with the kind of clarity that left no space for doubt. She told them about her internships, real legal work with civil rights attorneys who trusted her with cases that mattered. She told them about her academic record, top of her class every semester. She mentioned the award she won for a legal brief so strong her professors still use it as an example in class. The brother's smirk twitched. Her mother-in-law's smile thinned. Her father-in-law's brow tightened, a small crack in the mask of polite superiority he'd worn all evening. But instead of applauding her, they seemed irritated, as if her excellence was an inconvenience, as if her truth made their assumptions harder to hold on to. Then Ethan's mother leaned forward, her tone wrapped in fake sweetness. "Law is hard," she said. "You sure you can handle that kind of pressure?" The question hit Ayanna harder than any insult before it, not because she doubted herself, she never had, but because she was tired. Tired of proving, tired of explaining, tired of standing in front of people who demanded her resume before they offered basic respect. Her heart thudded once, heavy but clear. How many times must a black woman carry proof just to be seen? Ayanna swallowed the heat rising in her chest. She didn't lash out. She didn't raise her voice. But something inside her lit up, a fire that had been burning quietly for years. She had earned every inch of her path. She carried her mother's sacrifices, her father's lessons, her grandmother's wisdom. She did not make it this far to be questioned by people who never struggled a day in her shoes. Then Ethan's father leaned in, his voice slicing through the air. "Explain how you managed valedictorian," he said. Not impressed, not curious, challenging, as if she had stolen the title rather than earned it. The table went silent. Ethan froze. His mother's fork hung midway to her mouth. His brother's grin faded completely. And Ayanna sat there, knowing she was at a crossroads. She could stay quiet and let the moment pass, or she could let her brilliance speak in a way they could never deny. Her breath steadied. The room waited. The fire inside her rose, not wild, not out of control, but fierce, focused, and ready. Ayanna lifts her chin and looks each person at the table directly in the eye. She doesn't tremble. She doesn't rush. She doesn't raise her voice. She chooses a weapon far more powerful than anger-clarity. With poised calm, she begins telling them exactly how she became valedictorian. Not the sugar-coated version they assume. The real one. She speaks of the sacrifices no one saw. The nights she fell asleep on open textbooks. The mornings she woke with ink on her cheek. The legal cases she studied until her fingers cramped. The essays she rewrote until sunrise. The pressure of being a black woman who had to be flawless just to be considered good enough. Her voice doesn't shake, but the room does. Ethan's mother lowers her fork. His brother sits forward, smirk gone. Even Ethan looks like he's hearing parts of her life for the first time. Endine delivers the revelation that detonates the entire table. She tells them she has already accepted a position at one of the most respected law firms in the state, a firm with a reputation so sharp people whisper its name. Then she adds softly, factually, that Ethan's father once applied there, and never even received a callback. His father coughs, choking on his drink. His mother freezes mid-blink. The brother's bravado melts into something that looks suspiciously like fear. But Ayanna doesn't smirk. She doesn't flex. She doesn't gloat. She speaks with a gentle strength that cuts, deeper than shouting ever could. She tells them brilliance doesn't need permission, not from them, not from anyone. She explains that she didn't come here to justify her existence or audition for their approval. She came because she cared about Ethan and wanted to meet his family. A family who chose suspicion over kindness, and stereotypes over truth. Ayanna stands. Not dramatically, just decisively. The kind of movement that signals the end of a chapter. She leaves them with the reality they tried to bury. They underestimated a woman who has already outgrown the tiny box they tried to force her into. The act ends with Ayanna stepping away from the table, and the entire room left in the silence of their own exposed prejudice. Ethan rushes after her, stumbling over himself as he follows her into the cool night air. His voice trembles with panic apologies, excuses, desperate explanations. He pleads with her to understand that his family just doesn't know any better. Ayanna stops walking. She turns to him with calm, steady eyes. Then she tells him the truth he has avoided for years. Knowing better isn't magic. It's a choice. He had a lifetime to see the way they behaved, a lifetime to challenge it, a lifetime to stop minimizing the harm they did, but he didn't, and she refuses to shrink herself, just to fit into a world he never questioned. Under the warm glow of the porch light, Ayana catches her reflection in the dark window beside them. She sees the girl who pushed through ceilings no one expected her to crack, the woman who rose above every stereotype, every doubt, every whispered insult. And in that quiet reflection, she finds her answer. She's done apologizing for being brilliant, done bending to make others comfortable, done dimming what they refuse to see. Ayanna turns away not in anger, but in liberation. She walks toward her car with a peace that settles deep in her chest. Inside the house, Ethan's family sits frozen in uncomfortable silence, realizing, far too late, that the woman they dismissed was stronger, smarter, and more accomplished than any of them combined. As Ayana drives home under the night sky, she whispers a promise to herself, soft, steady, and unbreakable. No room, no family, no prejudice will ever dim who I am again.